Do you hope the Eagles make the Super Bowl, or do you expect them to? 61% say hope. 39% expect. Elliot joining us now.
It's going down.
Yeah, Elliot, what do you
What's
think?
up?
What would your attitude be there
I think they should be expected to make the Super Bowl.
this year?
But do you expect them to make the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I don't expect them to make the Super Bowl, but I
Okay.
think the expectation should be the Super Bowl. And honestly,
Way to be on.
I'll give.
Well, but everyone thinks the expectation should be the Super Bowl.
Well, no, but I didn't used to think that. Coming off of the Super Bowl, I think it's kind of a icing on top year, like whatever happens, happens. But Ike did make the point to me, which I think is a true one. If you're the Chiefs or the Patriots during those runs, you expected to go there. And I think we should view the Eagles in a similar light to those teams. So while, again,
Well,
like
wait, but
like they've gone to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. They have the best roster in the NFL. I agree it's super hard to get back. I don't think it's a complete failure if they don't.
Right.
But ultimately, if you want to be, if everyone wants to, puff their chest out and say the Eagles are the best team of the last 25 years, but then you got to be treated like the other best teams, and that means you should be expected to go.
Well, yeah, but most okay. There's a difference, I think, and this is what I meant to say to you earlier. I think there's a difference between a general organizational expectation that like we are a Super Bowl team every year, and a fan looking at it, or a neutral analyst looking at it and say, this year you really expect that to happen. And I think as an organization, they can expect, hey, we're going to be there every year, and the players and the coaches to think, we're going to do it this year. But I think if you take a step back, you're really giving two answers.
Yeah,
right?
well, maybe I'm not understanding the question completely. then.
Do you expect the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl this year?
Yes.
But you don't. You just said you don't think they're
But
going to.
But no. I'm saying I think like they are good enough to do it and they should do it. Now, if they don't, do I think that's a failure? I don't think it's a failure depending how it plays
Right, that's
out.
different.
You
yeah.
just said, hold on. I just want to be clear, because you
Right.
just said you don't think the Eagles are. When you make your
No,
prediction
okay.
this year,
Let me be clear.
are the
okay?
Eagles going to be in the Super Bowl?
Well, we'll see what happens over the next month. But yes, if I were to pick today, I would pick the Eagles to be in the Super Bowl in the NFC.
Okay.
That's- yeah.
I thought you said something differently.
I might
He
have.
did, but
honestly.
he sort of
Yeah.
misunderstood.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So here's what I would say about what you're saying, because I don't think the logic is flawed in what you're saying. But the reason why I think it's okay for us to expect them to go to the Super Bowl this year, because they just showed us what they can do when we didn't expect them to do it. We didn't expect them to go to the Super Bowl last year.
No.
So coming off of winning 16 out of the 17 games remaining in the season and going through the playoffs the way that they did, I don't know, and bringing back virtually everyone, I don't know how you don't expect them to go to the Super Bowl the following year, other than that it's hard to repeat. But we're saying get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We didn't say we expect them to win it, even though we do expect them to win it. If we expect them to
Well,
get
yeah,
there.
you're not going to pick
why
against
wouldn't-
them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I also don't think, and I'll use me here, but for a large portion of the fan base, I'd say we don't get to say all offseason, Jalen's definitely a top 5 guy. Nick is disrespected. This is the best receiver duo, running back duos. Jeff Stoutland's, all these things, and then go, well, the second cornerback spot's not great.
Well, sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yet I am consistent in that. But yes, I would guess if you say all those things and you're like, I don't care that this guy left. I don't care that that guy left. This young guy. The last question on this, or just last thing, you said, and I think you're right. The Chiefs thought this and believed this, and the Patriots thought this and believed that. So you picked the two teams out of the large number of Super Bowl winners over the last 25 years that were able to do that.
Right.
Most teams did not.
But I think a difference
like,
with the Eagles is they've been twice in 3 years.
Okay, and the Seahawks were too.
Correct, and I think those Seahawks teams, I forget the exact timing, but they should have, after they won it, or when they were in the Super Bowl the year before, if you go 2 times in 3 years, then you should expect to go back. Like, you're obviously good enough to do it.
I wonder, did they go back, or did they miss 1 year? They won it.
They didn't win back-to-back.
They didn't go back to
Right.
no,
Well, they only
but did
won
they go
one.
back to back?
I think
That's what I can't remember.
They lost to the Patriots, and then they
But
beat the
won
Broncos.
First. No, they won first.
Okay.
The Broncos one was first. I think the next year they went back, because wasn't the 15 Super Bowl Panthers versus Bucks? Or Panthers versus Broncos?
Yeah, maybe it was.
In San
maybe it was
Francisco,
back to back.
Because it was 13, 14, 15. 13 was the year, it was the Malcolm Butler pick. No, 13 was the Broncos
No, they
game
won the Super Bowl first.
and then it was the Butler pick, and then I
Yes.
think it was the Cam Newton Super Bowl.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh, you know what? You're right. I'm thinking from Seattle's standpoint. You're talking about from Denver's standpoint.
Well,
why are you confusing the situation? He's talking about Seattle.
Well, he was talking about Seattle.
Well, that's what I thought we were talking about.
Yeah,
it feels like the Spider-Man thing.
Yeah. You're talking about Denver. That's why you
the Denver Super Bowl. I'm talking about the Denver Super Bowl.
Let's get this nailed down. If only there was a way we could figure it out super quickly.
I thought he was talking about Seattle.
Actually,
I
Jack,
was talking about Seattle.
Could you Google it?
Yeah, just look it up.
Could you just? There's a machine right in front of you.
Well, here's why it's different because I know Denver lost theirs first.
Yes,
they lost.
Correct.
To
they got
Seattle.
smoked. They got smoked by
and
Seattle.
And then Peyton won the one where he didn't really do anything against Carolina. But I thought we were talking about.
So
Seattle.
there must have been a year between, to your point.
Yeah. So when
Denver,
Denver, when Seattle whooped them, and then it was the Malcolm Butler play the
so
next
they
year.
did go back to back.
So they went back to back.
That's why they went back to back.
So Denver had a year off in between.
Forget Denver.
Forget Denver. Yeah, please. I'm begging you.
Forget Denver. That's why it got confusing. It's Seattle we were talking about.
So before we get to training camp
Which,
stats,
by the way, was in our favor.
Yes.
Yes.
Get out of here. They already went to one. All right. Before we get to training camp stats, a tweet from J.J. Watt today. Now, you would say you respect J.J. Watt, an all-time player. You know, seems like a good guy, too.
I have an interesting side note about J.J. Watt, but go ahead.
Okay. Here's what he tweets today. And he puts Howard style. He puts stats in quotes. Training camp stats are insane and ridiculous. Used to think it was always just people joking, but now seeing them seriously reported. You have no idea what the purpose of that period is, what the goals are, what the context is, etc. It could be strictly a third and long blitz period where every play is skewed toward the defense's advantage. Coaches could be asking the quarterback to focus on one specific route concept. D-line may be focusing on only bull rushers one day or just speed rushes for one period. More importantly, practice is for practicing. You're supposed to fail. You're supposed to try new things, see what works and what doesn't. If you only do what works, you'll never grow, adapt, and change. The entire point of training camp is to build and grow toward the season so that you perform your best when the real games start. Your response to J.J. Watt.
Yeah, so first, obviously, JJ has forgotten more about football than I know. So
way to get that out of the way.
Yes, and he has been in training camps. And here's
a lot of people didn't know that.
Exactly, just to clarify. Yeah, the 5'8" guy in the soccer kit. But here's the thing. This is what always happens with the training camp stats, is people go, well, you need more context. Yes, I agree. The stats are not the end-all, be-all, much like you can't just look at a box score of a game and get the full story of what happened. If a quarterback on a play goes 1 for 1 for 3 yards, but it's 4th and 2, then that is an awesome play. But if you told me a quarterback just went 1 for 1 for 3 yards, that doesn't mean as much. So when I say that Jalen Hurts is completing 93% of his passes this offseason and over the last 2 practices, I agree that doesn't tell the whole story. And I agree that I don't have as good of a read on what the players are trying to accomplish in practice as the players do. But that's true for a lot of things. When I watch an NFL game or when Pro Football Focus watches an NFL game, they don't know what defense is being called, but they still grade safeties and they still make judgments. So I agree that I don't have the full scope of training camp for the training camp stats. But what I do know is I have more information than people that don't keep stats. You can tell me that, like the stats maybe don't perfectly depict what's happening, but when I tell you Jalen Hurts has completed 93% of his passes or went 305 passes last year with interception, that is a better description of what's happening in practice than me coming on here and going, Jalen's been great.
I agree with you.
So that's the thing I don't get about the training camp stats and why it works people up so much. It's just more information.
Well, so if I were to defend J.J. Watt in this, now that many people have copied you and you are a trailblazer, the
godfather of training camp stats,
and I believe that you are, I think we all will give you that credit. Now that it's being tracked everywhere, I would bet what he's seeing a lot of is QB was 10 of 17 with 2 picks and fans melting down and him going like, you don't understand that, like this is about more than that. So I would imagine that while you give proper context to it, or mostly proper context to it, that not every fan does, especially the people consuming.
So I think that's probably true, but I would also say that if you told me, so I'm not in Cleveland at their practices, right? And by the way, I track stats for the Cleveland Browns a few years ago, and now I think that's why they do it. But regardless, so the Cleveland Browns, the Browns are tracking their stats, or the reporters are out there. I'm not at practice, but if you told me whoever you want to pick, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders, was 10 of 17 for 2 interceptions. You're right. I don't have all the context, but I can look at that and go, not a great day, right? Like the 2 interceptions, almost 50% completion percentage, no touch. Because here's the thing. Even if they are doing certain situational drills, he still threw an interception. The drill does not call for an interception.
Yeah, but if they're saying, we want you to get to that guy, like we want you to find a way to throw to that guy. Like, let's take Jalen, for example. Like we said last year, you said he was showing a lot of short things and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, Jalen, we get it. Like, we get that you can complete those. What we want you to do is whatever you do, we don't want you to throw the check down. Even if it's iffy, we want you to try to go downfield.
Right.
His stats are going to be worse.
Correct.
But so the fact that his stats are worse, if they're telling him to do something that is more dangerous in that, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like,
so here's where, and I'll use a real world example of this, and I think it's okay for me to say this. So a few years ago, the Eagles had a practice, and Jalen had, I think his completion percentage that day was relatively mundane. It wasn't great, it wasn't super low, but I gave him a D for the day because just watching, I was like, not good. But then I was told after, actually, we were working on blitzing. And so while it was a lot of short completions, that was good, right? So in that instance, I agree with J.J. Watt. I didn't know what they were trying to accomplish, so I graded them poorly. But the stats are still the stats, and I still give a better depiction of what happened at practice than someone that just says, you know, he was okay, or like he completed some of his passes. I just think with everything in sports, more information can be used in different ways, but it's better to have that information than to not have it. His issue is with the context of the stats, not with the stats themselves.
All right. And you think a player that always has really, really good stats is probably obviously a really good player, right?
Well, I feel like you're trying to trick me here.
I'm not.
But what I will say is, as someone that has tracked training camp stats for a long time, I have seen an exact correlation. In 2017, Carson's camp has always been the gold standard for me. Carson was awesome that year. Last year, Jalen, 305 throws without an interception. I think we would all agree the defining thing of Jalen's year last year was probably he took care of the ball, right? So what you see in camp does often correlate, in my professional opinion, into the season.
As a future GM.
Correct.
Do you think he's going to go 305 passes in training camp this year without throwing a touchdown?
Honestly, I didn't, but I'm starting to think he might.
Uh-oh. So
I'm not trying to hype it up. Like,
why don't you didn't let me answer? Like, I was talking about throwing a touchdown. He still hasn't thrown a touchdown yet.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Is he going to go for another record?
Yeah.
So what are the stats for today, Eliot?
So today, Jalen was 17 of 19, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Over the last 2 days, he's completing 93% of his passes. I think a difference between Jalen today and Jalen yesterday. Yesterday, Jalen was 14 of 15. Today, he should have been 18 for 19. One of his passes was dropped by Will Shipley. Hit his hands, dropped it. I know. Tell me about it.
That's my guy, Ship.
I have a Shipley thought in a second. Okay. But from Jalen's perspective, I think what the 93% shows me and what the 17 of 19 shows me is I don't get to watch these plays twice, so maybe there are guys open down the field that he's not seeing, and so the coaching staff would grade it differently. But when you're 17 of 19 and 14 of 15 the day before, that tells me you know before the snap where your safety net is. So maybe you're not throwing it where you want it to, but you know what the defense is doing, you know what play you're calling, and you know where to go if it's not open. So I think when you're completing a huge percentage of your passes, I think in training camp you should complete probably 78%. Like 75, 78. When you consider there's often 7-on-7s where you can check it down, like you should complete a high percentage. But 93%, where one of the 3 incompletions is a drop, tells me he is very aware of where he should be going with the football when things aren't working out.
Couple questions.
Okay.
Is he even throwing the ball in the end zone?
So they have not run.
We couldn't have been, right?
Well, I mean, he hasn't thrown a touchdown pass, but it doesn't mean he hasn't.
No, so they've not run any red zone drills.
Okay.
And I will say it is hard to throw a touchdown in training camp that's not in the red zone because you basically have to complete a 50-yard bomb because if you catch a 20-yard pass, you're kind of down as soon as you catch the ball because they're not tackling.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you know?
Why don't we throw 50-yard bombs?
I haven't done it in 2 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Other question. Third receiver.
Yes.
Hearing some good things about Marshall.
So I would say Marshall's the fourth receiver.
Okay, I'm just saying I'm saying third receiver position,
Yes.
and now I'm just talking about everybody that's not Devontae and AJ. I'm hearing Marshall.
The only touchdown that's been thrown in training camp was from Tanner McKee to Marshall. And he beat Keely Ringo down the sideline for the touchdown. I thought the throw was actually only okay, and I thought Marshall did a good job adjusting to it. And what stands out about Marshall to me is if you put him next to Jahan Dotson, Aniyah Smith, Danny Gray, whoever, all these other guys, he's just the best athlete by far. You put him next to Aniyah Smith, and it's just obvious he has such a huge physical advantage. He was drafted considerly higher than Aniyah Smith was.
Second round pick.
Yeah. Comes from, wide receiver U. Sorry, Corey, but I think LSU is maybe the best one. Maybe changing.
It's a good argument. Yeah. Ohio State, LSU. That's a good argument.
AJ Brown said yesterday that Terrace Marshall is going to make the other receivers uncomfortable because he's clearly coming for a roster spot.
Oh, good.
So I've been impressed by him. I think if I'm going to put my 53 out tomorrow and he'll be on it. I think he's going to. Yeah.